Welcome to the Women Writing Podcast. I'm your book coach, Liisa Kovala. I'm a certified fiction and memoir book coach and the author of Like Water for Weary Souls, Sisters Winter War, and Surviving Struthof, and the Hygge House Nordic Cozy Mystery Series. As a Finnish Canadian, I also love my coffee. Take a coffee break with us as we chat about all things writerly with authors and publishing industry professionals. And don't forget to sign up for my Women Writing newsletter on Substack and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more great content. On today's episode of Women Writing, I'm having a coffee break with Emily Andrews. Emily is a Northern Ontario writer. She has stories in books such as Red Wing speculative fiction and Painted Voices, as well as full-length publications such as Danny Fundy, A Cult Babysitter, and The Fates of Three. She can be found hiding in her home in rural Sudbury or online at Emily Andrews Author on Facebook. Hi, Emily. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, I'm so delighted to have a coffee break with you. Coffee or tea drinker? I think I know the answer.
Honestly, it depends. Coffee when I want to be perked up, but tea when I want to relax.
I love that. Yeah, I'm the kind of the same. Although really coffee all the time, mostly. And chai tea. I do like my chai tea, where we often go and sit and write at Starbucks, which is always fun on a Friday night. That's our Friday night, Emily. It's Starbucks.
It is. And I'm starting to get when I don't go, I get a caffeine Jones.
Oh, you're like, oh, something's wrong here. Oh, that's very funny. Oh my gosh. I love it. So I think of you as kind of a multi-genre author. Would that be fair to say? Because you write a lot of different types of things.
That just means multi-genre is a nice way of saying that I haven't settled.
Do you think you will settle?
Well, now that I've written my first novel and started writing my second, I'm in the groove.
You're in it.
So novel and short story. I've tried my hand at poetry a couple of times, and as fun as it is to write, even I cringe a little bit, and I can pull stuff out from when I was 15 and wrote, the bad poetry that sounds way too similar. So I haven't evolved yet.
Your 15-year-old poet is in there and wants to come out.
Yeah, she's like, I'm still angry at things.
I'm still angry. So good. Okay, well, let's talk about I do want to talk about that actually. So you were writing poetry as a kid, as a teenager, I'm guessing, because like most of us we had feelings.
Yes.
Deep feelings.
Very strong feelings.
All the things. But when did you start getting serious about your writing?
Oh, that is a good question. I would say around when I was working at a college in Calgary, I met another writer who had self-published and encouraged me and it was encouraging me to go to a coffee shop to write, which I tried to avoid because in my mind it was so predictable.
Yes.
The angsty writer hunched over their laptop, and
now you're one of us.
But it works. It works so well. I resisted way too long. And that same year, I met a guy who was doing free seminars for people. And this is when KDP Amazon was in its infancy. And I had never heard of it. And he's like, yeah, I just uploaded it and went. And I'm like, I can do that?
Amazing. Yeah.
And it opened a whole new world because it wasn't that I wasn't ready to be traditionally published or even try. It's that I wanted a backup plan. I'm very happy to have backup plans for everything.
Yeah, 100%.
So that was the year where I'm like, okay, it's not just, getting an idea and writing it down and then closing the journal and walking away. Now I have a plan, and I always my first book is, as you know, is a memoir of postpartum depression. And I had that plan in my head since my son was like 5, that I know I needed this out here because it was just so ridiculous. And I couldn't believe the barriers I faced in the medical establishment, if you will.
Yes.
And I needed to do it with sarcasm because well, that's how I deal with everything. My
Yeah.
therapist loves me.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's when it really like that's when I started to pick up momentum. I've had a lull here and there with, you know, because your brain tells you things that aren't true, but
Yeah.
otherwise it's been gung ho. And then I am a very big, I used to be the leave me alone and write, but now I am a big proponent of community and writing.
Yeah.
I feed off that energy. I feed off
Yeah.
of my fellow writers who are around the table with me writing. I love it so much.
Yeah. It is interesting because I think, especially when we were kids writing, it really was pretty solitary. Like I didn't really know anyone who wanted to write. So you kind of like are a little bit like just doing it and not telling anybody. So I think you kind of feel like, that's what writers do. But then when you have that community, all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, I get it. I get why people go to a coffee shop to write in an environment where there are other people and where maybe you're writing with another writer or several other writers. Like it's game changer.
Yeah, just hate that it took a little, maybe 2 years too long to find that out.
Yes. It's never too late. So I love that. Love the title of that memoir, Second Rate Goddess. I think that's such a brilliant title. And so about postpartum depression. And I love also because you are, that humor and sarcasm is coming through, but there's also an underlying, how would you say?
Reality is
Yeah, the reality of the system and like, what do you find difficult at that time?
the fact that it was it was supposed to be done fast. It's like by
Mhm.
the time I found in myself to seek help, it's like, okay, here's some pills for 3 months. By then you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Here and but no offer to talk to someone, no
Yeah.
offer like, what if these pills don't work?
Mhm.
And then when I like the first pills I had awful, awful side effects. And it's like, okay, yes, you can switch. And it's like, I've been here taking these for three
Yeah.
months and I didn't know that
Yeah.
I could just,
Yeah.
switch them up. But it
Yeah.
was just like a push through. It's like, okay, this is going to be over soon. I don't know why you're so upset about all this. And
Right.
oh my goodness. And
Yeah.
there was a tad of misogyny beside it. It's like,
I
it's
was
all
gonna
male.
I was thinking, should I ask that question? Like, who is your doctor? Not names, but like male or female. Because there's something about not having experienced things and not being able to relate to them that can be such a barrier. Like, I'm sure there's lots of wonderful male doctors who are empathetic and understand and have wives and are paying attention and whatever, like have studied. And I think we have more research out now too about women's health. And like for so long that all the research was done based on men and then just kind of like, oh, and also women will this. But now I feel like, so I think it might be improving. So I'd be interested in knowing if it is improving, especially when it comes around to postpartum depression and healthcare for women. I think it's improving, but I do still hear like, even like when we talk about like in my case, menopause, a lot of women, like depending on their female or male doctor, their answers are different. Like I'm fortunate, I have a female doctor who's very receptive and I just talk about all the things and totally works with me, right? Whereas that doesn't always happen for people. And that's really a sad state of because we don't have to suffer through all these things, but if you're not taken seriously.
Well, one of the worst things I think I heard when after I wrote my book, I was at a vendor fair and I was speaking to a woman who had had her babies 50 years before me, and our stories were very similar. And
Yeah.
that's what upset me the most, that
Yeah.
nothing had changed. Now,
Yeah.
I truly believe Gen Z and Gen Alpha are, burning down the system and they're
Yeah.
more willing to advocate for
Yes.
themselves. There's more kids that I know, especially my son's friends and my mommy friends' kids are in
Yeah.
therapy because they
Yeah.
asked for it.
That's
And
right.
I'm so happy they asked for
Yeah.
it. If I would have
So
asked
proud.
for it, it would have been,
No.
well, she's the pariah. She's the,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Well, and I think Gen X women are also like we didn't ask for help. We just pushed through and did all the things. And then, but now in our 50s, we're like, screw that. Like, now I'm like, oh, like, and I even see my daughter. I'm so proud of her for like standing up in a way that I didn't as a younger person, for asking for help when she needs it. Like there's things that the younger generations, like you say, are asking for and demanding and not putting up with, which is brilliant because we put up with a lot of things that should not have happened. But only now is like, oh yeah, maybe that's not okay. I mean, but I think, yeah, so it's such an interesting transition. But I also love that you wrote about it because, like, on the one hand, I think I don't like to talk about writing as therapy, but I think there's a therapeutic element to writing about what has happened to you. Like it validates it, and then to share it with other people because then they can connect and they see themselves in those stories and they can relate. And that, so I think that's a real service to people when you write about your own experiences like that.
I was a little nervous. I had taken creative writing classes before, and I had a teacher who said if you're going to self-insert or, take something from your own life and put it in, you should try to distance yourself as much as possible. And I have noticed that advice being helpful for certain things, but I tried to do it for this. I tried to limit what I was going to say based off that advice. And I also tried to limit what I was going to say because I was afraid, what if my mom reads this? What is she going to think?
Right.
And it was too limiting.
Yeah.
I wrote this for me primarily, and it was a very selfish endeavor, and I would do it again.
Right.
But I can see how for some stories, being too close to them would have been detrimental to write about it right away, especially if I would have wrote about postpartum depression like a year after, my kid had been born. So
right. Whole other experience. Yeah. Oh, I think that's interesting because I know I've given that advice to memoirists too, that like sometimes when you're so close to the event, it's hard to see it in perspective because you're kind of still in it. But also when you're still in it and writing about it, you're really processing what's going on, and it can be really beneficial for the writer. So there's it's interesting. I don't know. Like but it goes to show like there's no real writing rules. They're all just like, try this and see if that works and at the end of the day, you're the writer. You get to decide what is working for you.
And time, plus pain equals humor. So that's
right.
That's what some of the humor came out of the fact that I was able to look back on it and think of like how ridiculous was it that it took. You don't have any limitations on this podcast, right?
No.
Like how ridiculous was it that I was in a room with two male doctors who couldn't figure out how to put the induction strip in on my cervix. And it took them 20 minutes of both of them tag teaming. Like at the time, it was the most painful, worst experience of my life. Yeah. Now when I say it, like it's this whole fun.
Right. Yes. Yeah. It's funny now, but like at the time you must have been like wanting to scream at them.
I felt like, am I deformed? Like, what's going on?
Like, what is happening down there? Amazing. So was your follow-up The Fates of Three? Am I getting the order right here?
Yes.
Okay, tell us about The Fates of Three. Also a great title. I struggle with titles, so I love this that you...
Well, I was talking with a friend of ours, Holly Gutwillinger, yesterday, and she says she has to start with a title, and I can't. My title comes at the very end once I see what the overarching theme is.
Okay.
I wish I could, come up with the title beforehand.
Yeah, amazing.
But yeah, The Fates of Three were, based on the three fates, and it was my comeback, if you will. So I had I got diagnosed with something called functional neurological disorder. And before I even got diagnosed, it was during COVID. So because I wasn't a priority, I was kind of getting bounced around everywhere. And I was getting very down, which kind of, that's the follow-up to postpartum depression is when is it just depression and when is it postpartum? But anyway, that's another podcast. And I couldn't write what I wanted anymore. I was a very linear person at the time. So if I couldn't sit there and do what I wanted and do how I had it in my head it wasn't worth doing. And so I did not write for 2 solid years.
Wow.
And that's when I realized how much I loved writing is when I picked it back up because I actually missed it. Like I
Yeah.
felt an internal ache for it. It was something was missing from my life. That's
Yeah.
how close I am to writing. And what made me pick it back up was again someone saying something so innocuous, which was I think Mark Leslie showing us chapbooks, and it's like you can just write what you want.
Yeah.
And it was
Mhm.
the same epiphany as before, but now it's stuck. I am the master of this universe of writing. I can do what I want.
That's right.
So I took these stories and put them out there because I needed for, again, it was another selfish endeavor. I needed a physical copy to show that I had finished something on my own, in my own way.
Yeah.
And it made me so happy. And everything has taken off from there and gotten
Yeah.
more fun, and it's
Yeah.
renewed my
Yeah.
love of writing, and it
That's so
was it
good.
was so great, and I'm so happy. So it was
Yeah.
just the overarching thing of that one was just voices of teenagers, because I love to write from that perspective, because
Yeah.
they people tend to forget teenagers have emotions. They're not,
Yeah.
blank slates. So they're
Yeah.
just haven't learned to process them yet.
Right.
So I think
Yeah.
it's a fun perspective to write from.
Absolutely. Oh, that's so great. I love that journey that has brought you right to this place because, like, I've known you for a long time. I don't know, want to say how long, like a decade. Is that right? Maybe not that long. I'm not sure. I think a decade.
8 years.
Yeah, I'm sure. And it's been fun to see because you've always been passionate about writing, but to see how it's evolving and changing and like you're trying new things and like it's just incredible. And then I do want to make sure we talk about Danny Fundy, A Cult Babysitter. Again, another great title that you co-wrote with Matt Del Papa, another friend of ours. So first I have to ask about the title. Did you come up with it? Was that a Matt idea together?
100% a mad idea on that
Oh,
one. I wish he
really?
could take
Okay.
credit.
Good job,
He
Matt.
well, again, going back to community and writing, he came up with this based on a prompt that was given at the Sudbury Writers Guild during a meeting. And it evolved
Okay.
from there into a book. So, yeah, you never know what's going to
Amazing.
come of.
You never know. You never know. So it's a collection. So it's short stories, but they're all kind of connected, right? Like a paranormal,
Yeah,
young
so
adult
they're
thing.
all so Matt took the perspective of one babysitter and I took the perspective of the other babysitter, and it's just each of them going like they're going on an adventure. So think of it as R.L. Stein meets Babysitters Club.
Oh,
So
so good.
yeah, so like for example, one of my stories I pulled inspiration from Headless Horseman,
Yeah.
and so that's who they become a babysitter of, is this little girl who keeps losing her head. And so that's what connects them all, is just these are their babysitting gigs that they're going on.
Yes. Incredible. I 100% would have been reading that cover to cover as a kid, right? Like it just is like the kind of thing that you just so so fun. But this
And
is what I mean. Like you have such a range of topics and different kind of writing that you're doing between memoir and writing for young adults and chapbooks and all the things. But I happen to know that you also are working, like you said earlier, about on novels. So tell us about the first one. I think the first one is And Then They Found Out.
yes.
Ooh, okay. How can we describe that one, Emily?
It two teenage girls who are sick of the status quo decide to fuck shit up.
that's that's the right phrase. Yes.
I've had to clean it up when I was pitching to publishers. They
I mean,
say,
accurate though.
well, they say one of the most important things is to get that elevator pitch down, but sometimes the elevator pitch doesn't transfer to
Right.
email so well.
Yeah, it depends. It depends on the recipient, I guess.
But it's two teenage girls who are getting a lot of in-person and online harassment, and it's set in the 90s. And unfortunately, I'm sure this is something you can relate to, that we were told, don't engage, or just, laugh it off, and,
Yeah.
keep to yourself. And, these two
Yeah.
girls are not happy with that
Yeah.
advice,
That's
and,
right.
decide to kick it up a notch. I, the, I tried to go for a feel like the Heathers and the
Yes.
Craft, and these ideas of
Yes.
these girls, just you know messing up the system
Yeah.
in their own way. And because it's just my favorite type of movie.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so good. And I remember reading like great vivid description of the time period, and you could just sink into the place, and you can just imagine like remembering like those rooms and like all the, all the things. And of course well, I don't know, is it technically set in Sudbury, or is it just inspired by, is it a fictional town?
No, it's set in Sudbury, in the 90s Sudbury that I remember.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
some people offered up suggestions, and one of them I took was Top Hat, which was an arcade. I have no memory of this place, even though I hung out downtown all the time, but I still
Yeah.
incorporated it because it was such a popular
Yeah. Yeah.
suggestion.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
weird how memory works like
Yeah,
that.
it's true. Yeah, absolutely. I actually remember the name, and I remember people going there, but I don't know that it was somewhere I went. But I do remember that was a popular place for people. Like, it's so funny. I'd forgotten all about Top Hat. All right, Sudbury folks, you'll remember.
And see, so I wrote Danny Fundy at the same time, and Danny Fundy was my break because most of the
Oh,
stuff I write is kind of dark.
yeah,
So when I needed to move, or I was stuck in the novel that I was writing, I'd move to Danny Fundy and write something, and it was soul cleansing in a way, but it still has the same theme. Both of them are like these two teenage girls who are dealing, like, even in Danny Funny, they're not running to their parents to help
yeah,
them with everything. They're dealing
yeah,
with everything on their own way, just in a young adult way.
yeah,
Whereas, and then they found out they're dealing it in an adult way.
yeah. There's like a real sense of independence and um, like determination to do it yourself, and like I don't know, they're like it's kind of powerful because I feel like I don't want to make generalizations about any generation, but I feel like in the 80s and 90s, that's kind of what was expected. Like you just take care of it, right? Like you just like, yeah,
Oh
take
yeah,
the bus,
because
go do your thing, come back, be on time, like whatever.
we were latchkey kids. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
home. As long as you were home before that ad that said, "Do you know where your
Yes.
kids are?"
Yeah,
Everything
that's
was
right.
fine.
You're fine. You're fine. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And now you're working on another book, another novel, and it's another pivot, I think. Although it may be also some interconnected themes, but tell us about that one.
So this one is based on my great grandmother who was forcibly confined to a mental asylum because her husband didn't like the fact that she talked back.
Right.
And so this is her journey. So a lot of it has to, so I can't label this as nonfiction because a lot of it is hearsay, a lot of it is family
Mhm.
rumor, a lot
Yeah.
of it is just historical
Yeah.
research of the hospital that she was in, because we did not treat
Yeah.
mental patient I can't say mental patients. What should I say? People with mental illnesses. It
Yeah.
wasn't, but that's the thing though. It wasn't even people with mental illnesses that were in there. It
Yeah.
was, they put people who were deformed, who were like too ugly for society, people who
Yeah.
had, special needs, people who were like anybody who didn't fit the
Yeah.
societal norm were
Right.
put in these places.
Yeah.
So I'm basing this on her, and I finished my first draft. I'm on to my second draft, and it's moving along. And
Yeah.
I see how you can say that it seems like it's a pivot, but for me, my overarching theme, and I didn't notice until someone asked the question, was it's feminist. Everything
Yeah.
I do comes from a feminist perspective. And
100%.
that's what I'm trying to do. And I did it in college too. And it was funny because I used to get made fun of. Like, it's like, oh, the teacher would ask a question and call on me, and it's like, oh, Emily's going to say her feminist rant now about
I
something.
hope so.
Well, they didn't appreciate it, but thank you for appreciating.
They do now. Now they're like, oh, I should have listened to Emily more. She was right the whole time.
Oh, could someone tell my kid that? He doesn't believe it.
You'll get there too. Amazing. No, but I love that because as you're talking about the connection to your grandmother, and like, even though you're writing it in as fiction, it's like based on, history and based on her story and like other women's stories. And it immediately brought me right back to Second Rate Goddess, right? Like the challenges in those systems, the challenges with like expectations of people and how they should be and what they actually know or how much empathy they have for individuals with differences. And like, it's just like, it's interesting that all the stories are really, really connected in that way, like, and very strongly your voice, right?
And it's such a dichotomy if you think about it, because back then, so she had 18 kids and eight of them survived.
Wow.
And you can't tell me that she didn't have some form of postpartum depression
Right.
because, especially when that's happening.
Yeah.
And they said, well, that just happened back then and they were used to it. But
Yeah.
but then you're saying, but now I'm supposed to have this special bond with every child that I
Yeah.
have and
Yeah.
not question it. And so
Right.
you can't have both.
Yeah. I
So,
just don't buy that. Like, I'm not sure whoever said that it just happened and they were okay with it. I just don't think it might be that they were, I don't want to say desensitized, but like, in a community, in a small community where people lost their children, like other families might be like, yeah, that happens. But when it happens to you, I don't think you just go, oh, well. Like, and we have like so many stories going way back when, of women who've lost their children and how terrible it was. So I can't imagine that this was ever true. Like, I don't think it was ever true. But I don't know who told us that it was fine. It was
it was a
fine. That's just how it
man.
was. It was.
It was a man.
How do you really feel? I love it. Um, so you are also doing more interesting things lately, and I love it. So you have recently become a radio host. How fun is that? Are you loving that?
I love it so much. So it is volunteer, but I had to I interview for it and
Yes.
everything, but the fact that they let me do it, I think is the coolest thing ever. It's
Yeah.
called Noise in the Void, Interviews in Art, and I interview writers and artists, and in the hopes that someone's going to listen and inspire others to,
Yeah.
pick up a pen, pick up a brush, and start themselves.
Yeah.
Because stop worrying if you're good, just do it because you love it.
Good. Yeah, I think that's brilliant. And it brings me to the fact that like we're both from Northern Ontario and we do have a pretty thriving artistic community here, albeit smallish. But we don't, like, in my opinion, we don't have the same access to the kinds of events and grants and various things that they do in bigger cities like Toronto or other places. And I feel like that makes us become kind of a DIY people. Like we're like, that's not here. What can we do instead? So you have, you're bringing something to us in the fall. Can you talk about that event? Because we need it. And you were like, oh, let's do it.
Yes, it's called the Use Your Voice Indie Book Festival, and it'll be on September 5th at Edward LeClaire in Isilda, and it's bringing together writers and bookish artists, and it's again I want to bring writers and people who hope to write and readers together in community. And that's why we're also going to have some of our authors giving little seminars to people, and everything is free. And we're also all proceeds that come from the tables or any other donations are going to Chelmsford Valley District Composite School for their arts programs. And so they
Amazing.
can, I told the principal he can use the money as he sees fit as long as it goes to something art related.
I love it so much. There's so many things. I mean, it's just like I say, being here in the north. I'm not sure that other like Sudbury is fortunate because we do have like a symphony and we have a theater center, and so we have some things, but even smaller communities outside of Sudbury, like this is kind of the hub, and they might have a little bit happening there too, but it's just so different. Like if you can go to Toronto on any given weekend and or during the weekend find like book events and festivals and this, like that the list goes on. Like you couldn't possibly go to everything. And like to have an indie book fair here where we can gather and share what we do with other people. Like, I think it's so important. And like you're creating that community, like you're saying, hey, like come together. And I don't know that we've seen that in the same way. Like I can't think of an event. Sudbury Writers Guild, we have what is it called? The
Roving
Roving Books
Outdoor Book
Fair.
Fest.
Yeah. And that Sudbury Writers Guild authors. And so those are traditionally and self-published authors or hybrid. And that happens once a year, which is a really lovely event. Started by Matt Del Papa, your co-author for Danny Fundy. And but like I don't remember that we've ever had an indie festival in memory.
Not that I know of. I was worried because I'm kind of sandwiched between the ROBF and
Yeah.
Wordstock, but I realized it's not the same. And like you
No.
said, in Toronto, you could every week there's something new. Why can't we
Yeah.
have something similar?
100%. The more we have, the better. And I think that's the thing. Like, so we have Wordstock Literary Festival in October and Roving Book Fair is usually in August. So yeah, you're in between. And I love that though, because like 'tis the season, right? Like, where people are going back to school, parents are sending the kids off. Like and we're getting ready to hibernate and get cozy and read books. And I think it's a brilliant, right? And each of those events is uniquely their own. And sometimes there's overlapping individuals or writers or folks, but I think it's brilliant. I think it's that you're really creating community here. And I think, we need it, like, and we need more here. And I feel like sometimes the we're seeing cuts in the arts, and Sudbury has seen a lot of those at our university and colleges when it comes to the arts. So the fact that that money is going towards the arts program at that high school is such a beautiful way of sharing your love of the arts with them and promoting it and letting people know like you can do this, like it is possible.
Yes, and that's why I called it the Use Your Voice book fair,
Yeah.
because I want people to remember that they have a voice. And it's something that took me too long to realize, but I learned most recently from Mark Leslie is I have free will. You
Yes.
can, if you want to just, write something and print it on your computer and staple it and, put
Yes.
it out there, do it. Why
Do
not?
it. Yeah. 100%. And I always say, I love that Marianne Williamson quote, like I'm not going to say it, but like basically, the more you shine your light, the more you give permission to others to shine their light. And I love that because by doing it yourself and putting it out there and letting people like see that and sharing it with them, then they're like, I have an idea. I've always wanted to, and XYZ, right? Like, so it's sometimes you just need somebody to have done it to be able to feel like, oh yeah, I could do that too. And so that's really lovely. And you're a real mentor in that regard.
Oh, wow. I never thought I tried to avoid teaching my son stuff because I'm afraid people are going to blame me. I don't know if I want that kind of power.
No, it's not power, it's inspiration.
Well, thank you. And also, well, thank you too, because you have always been someone who is willing to take someone under your wing and tell them that they can and they're allowed.
Yeah,
And
thank
I want
you.
to thank you for that.
Oh, that's really kind. I love it. It's a love fest over here at Women Writing. But I think
Yes, we're
that's
not huggers, but we vocalize.
yeah, right. And I think that's what we need to do though, is that whole idea of lifting each other up and like providing like, and that's one thing we've talked about in our little writing group that meets regularly is like, what can we do to like, help each other move forward because you can do it on your own, but it's a lot of work. But when you have other people kind of like behind you, then it's like, okay, yeah, we can do this. It's just, it feels easier and it's more fun. So that whole idea of community, creating some kind of writing community for yourself, just on that small level that we do when we're writing, but then on that bigger scale where you've created this event where other people can join and come and see and talk. And, that's brilliant. I think it's going to be awesome. It's going to be the first of many, I'm sure.
I really hope this becomes an annual event, and I want to make it as grassroots as possible. I haven't sent out the letters yet, but I'd like to invite the library to be there
Yeah.
and the women's center. And then if that goes well, another year, I'd like to have more community organizations there in the mix because I want it to be about community and about, raising everybody up.
I love it. So good. Well, on that note, thank you, Emily. This was so fun to chat again on the podcast. And I'd love to have you back whenever you have another book coming out and the event. So we have things to talk about in the future.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much, Lisa. I hope you have a great day.
Thanks. I believe writers need sisu, strength, courage, and determination to get their projects done, and I can help you access your sisu. Are you working on a novel or memoir? You don't have to do it alone. Join us in the Women Writing Circle. We meet bi-weekly for 90 minutes to get pages done. Or consider applying for an upcoming group book coaching program to develop the foundational elements of your story in a supportive community. These 8-week-long programs include weekly coaching calls, goal setting, craft discussion, and personalized feedback on writing tasks. If you'd prefer to work one-on-one, contact me about one of my coaching packages at lisakovalabbookcoach.com. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule to have a coffee break with us at Women Writing. Don't forget to subscribe to Women Writing on Substack. If you like this episode, share it with someone who needs a writing break and a little inspiration. Happy writing. Thank you to Michael Jensen for his original music and editing, and to Mia Jensen for the logo design.